And today, obviously, I have an amazing guest right here. So it's a fitness instructor who knows as a workout, guide, and content creator, and just the glute king, Bret Contreras. And he has his own brand and company, the Glute Lab, and he has a 1 million followers on Instagram, and he's just an amazing personal trainer. I think he's also a really kind and sweet person. Hi Bret, how are you?
Very good, thank you for having me on.
Oh, I hope the introduction was good. I was trying my best.
Sure. Nailed it.
So Bret is in Hawaii today, right?
Yeah, we
so
are.
Happy.
I have a client, my client Masa. She was my first client in San Diego, and she moved out here, so my current client, Ashley Hodge, she was like, you need a vacation, and I'm like, I don't like going alone. She's like, I'll go with you, so here we are.
That's awesome. And I'm happy that Bret is here because I'm also living in Hawaii, and then we all waiting when you're gonna open the Glute Lab here one day.
It'll happen, yeah.
Okay, so before we go into some questions I got ready for you, can you just tell a little bit more for someone, maybe some of my followers don't know who you are. So what are you doing for a living, where are you from, and wherever you want to share about your biography.
Okay, so I'm almost 45 years old next month.
No way.
Yeah, so my first 40 years of life were in Phoenix, Arizona, and then now I'm going, why did I live there so long? I was so afraid to move away from my family, but when I was like 40, I just said I'm going to move to San Diego. So I lived for like almost 4 years in San Diego, and then I just recently moved to Las Vegas for tax purposes, but I love San Diego. The weather is so nice there. I hate the heat, and then now I moved to Las Vegas. But anyway, I started lifting weights when I was 15, so about 25 years of weightlifting under my belt, and then I started personal training at age 20. Really, I started training before that, but it wasn't like official. I didn't get a cert until I was 20. And so 30 years of lifting and 25 years of personal training under my belt. So I was actually a high school math teacher for 6 years, and I owned a gym. Like I quit teaching. I opened up a gym in Scottsdale, and I had been a trainer for 10 years before I ever wrote my first article. Because back then, MySpace wasn't really for business. Facebook was starting to become used for business, but it wasn't like how social media is now, where kind of like you start out and you start up someone's been lifting weights. I have clients who do one prep. They've been lifting weights for 6 months, and they start up like a Cindy Fitness. I'm like, you're a fitness person now? You've been lifting weights for 6 months. And they're like, so I want to document my journey. And I'm like, well, call it Cindy Learning Fitness or something. I wouldn't do say I joined jiu-jitsu and I'm 6 months in, I wouldn't think I can start teaching it. But that's another thing. I think people, you always have that uncle that's like, oh, you can make millions. You need to start up your own Instagram. It's like, what about learning the craft first? And that's what I'm proud of. I did that. I've been training for 10 years. I invented the barbell hip thrust. That was in 2006. That's probably what I'm most known for, is the invention of the hip thrust. But I'm also proud that I started this whole glute niche. When I started out, I remember going to this popular seminar, and there's this business guru who helps people. And he was at the social, and he was trying to help people. He was trying to drum up business for himself. And I remember he comes up, he pats me on the back. He's like, so what's your interest, son? And I was like, oh, I'm really into the glutes. And he started chuckling. He's like, well, that's a hobby. You're not going to make a living off that. So what's your passion with something you can make a living off of? And I was like, thank God a stubborn man, I wasn't deterred, because I've had people from the get-go trying to dissuade me from doing all the things I've ended up doing. The people who told me the hip thrust was stupid, people who told me blogging was stupid. Hell, my own stepdad was like, when I wrote my first ebook, he was like, no one's gonna buy your ebook, why don't you get a real effing job? And I'm like, and I didn't listen to him, I didn't listen to anyone. I've always forged my own path. And I started up this whole glute niche, and I enjoyed about at least 10 years, maybe 15 years of no competition. There was no other glute guru out there. And now, interesting, just the last like 2 years, I've just seen this explosion.
Yeah.
You might not have seen them, but there's so many glute experts out there.
Yeah, I saw.
Really, there was only one glute guru out of Sydney who I like. He's just like me. He's always coming up with new things. Mm-hmm. But I always think it's funny how people, it's a marketing tactic when they position themselves and they'll be like, world's top glute expert or like best glute program, and I'm like, why would you even say that? I've dedicated my whole life to this. I got a PhD. I've published like 51 studies. I've like, gone to great lengths to not only to like, and hell, glute training wasn't a thing back when I started out, Yeah. And it's the weirdest thing, because if you think about it, and it's still kind of in the male bodybuilding magazines, you've got your leg day, you've got arm day, back day, chest day, shoulder day.
Yeah, it's still like that.
And then no one talks about glutes. It's so weird. And then, just assume the glutes will come along. But that's the only muscle group they don't talk about. It's okay to talk about traps, delts, biceps, triceps, pecs, lats, even erectors, abs, quads, hamstrings,
even like
calves.
I see like guys train neck,
forearms.
but never lats and glutes. You know what I mean?
I know.
I'm like, why do you train your neck?
So that it's been a nice shift. In fact, last night we were walking. I was with Masa and Ashley and Chris, and I hear, it was right out here, some guy yells, "Bret Contreras, you changed my life."
Oh,
and I looked out and I saw him, he's like, "Thank you." And I gave him the thumbs up. I said, "Thank you." And that made me so happy to hear from a guy.
Yeah.
He changed my life. And it's either he had no butt and now he does have glutes, or it helped him with his athletics, or he had back pain.
Yeah.
And sometimes just, not just building glutes, but learning proper form with everything can help rid you of pain. Pain is complex. The pain scientists hate when I make it out to be that simple. But anyway, anecdotally, a lot of people experience that. So for whatever reason, I helped change his life. So it's a very rewarding, fulfilling field. But I would have never been okay being the pec guy or the quad guy or something else. The glutes, though, they're very versatile. They're very, for physical therapy, sports, bodybuilding. Yeah, it's really cool. I love them.
Yes, I like this whole story. It's amazing and inspirational that you never give up and never stop doing what you love. I think that's amazing. I just want to know a little deeper how you actually come up with this idea, right? So I imagine you are already a personal trainer, right? And you train and you are a guy, and how you come up with the idea about the hip thrust, because actually I long time I didn't know you was the person who actually create that exercise, because no one is telling that. People don't mention that all the time. So how does that happen?
And it's funny because even up until 5 years ago, I feel like everyone knew I invented it, but Instagram is just taking off. TikTok, it's like this explosion of fitness people, and they don't have a clue. And also, there's no central hub. Mm-hmm. It used to be we all read, when I first started learning about fitness, there wasn't the internet. The internet came around when I was about 20 about. And so from 15 to 20, I just read bodybuilding magazines. Mm-hmm. And there were 5 of them. There was Muscle and Fitness, Muscular Development, Flex, Ironman. What else? I mean, there was Men's Health, but
reading the magazines anymore.
I was reading the magazines. That's how you learned.
Wow.
What else would you do?
Mm-hmm.
There was no internet.
Mm-hmm.
So
library?
Yeah, go to the library and read books. I mean, I didn't do that, but there was a lot of you'd go to a gym, you'd meet people, they talk, this is what so and so's doing, and so then the internet came out, and there was one site in particular, tnation.com, and that was my favorite website for so long, and I'm kind of disappointed because that was the hub. Every popular writer, every popular strength coach wrote for them. The who's who of strength coaching wrote for T Nation, and that was my goal. And I was like, that was my first. I'm a very goal-oriented person. That was my first major goal. I want to write for T Nation. I became one of their biggest writers. I think I wrote so many articles for them, and that's how I got known. That's how I got the hip thrust popular. This article I wrote called "Dispelling the Glute Myth." I wrote that in 2009. I invented the hip thrust in 2006, and what you said, the way I invented it, I was reading T Nation every week, day in, day out, and there were a lot of guys back then. I can think of several guys, but Eric Cressy, Mike Robertson, they were strength coaches. Mike Boyle, Mark Verstegen, Martin Rooney. I know there are more, I'm leaving them out, but they were all doing glute activation with their athletes. And it's funny because I liked the concept of glute activation, like low load glute activation before the workout as part of your warm up. But I'm like, why are the glutes so special? Like, do you really need to do this? Well, here's the deal. All the exercises they were doing were kind of wimpy. Glute bridges, bodyweight glute bridges, lateral band walks, like fire hydrants, stuff like that. Yeah. And that's what I kind of took those. I took those. That was the perfect bridge between. So the popular exercise before I came around, before Bret Contreras, it was squats, lunges, Romanian deadlifts. Yeah, deadlift. Yeah, that's it. Those three. That's it. Some people did the seated hip abduction machine, but guys would be like, that doesn't do anything. That's for sissies, and kickbacks were for sissies. You want glute squat. Yeah. And those are all vertical hip extension exercises. Yeah. They're all similar in that you have a bar on your back or in your hands. You go down. It's hard going down. You work your muscle in a deep stretch. You come back up. Well, I popularized the horizontal hip extension exercise. And by the way, Louis Simmons was a popular powerlifter. He started the West Side method, and he was doing all these exercises for powerlifters as like a preparation method. Like they did tons of sled pushing, reverse hypers, cable pull throughs, back extensions. And then they even had like this, one of his guys, Matt Dynamo, had Dynamo deadlifts, which is kind of like a partial where you're using a lot of glutes, and they were doing a lot of that, but it wasn't like that hadn't hit the bodybuilding crowd. So I just kind of pieced things together, and I remember when I did a glute bridge, I was like, man, this is I feel it. You feel it, indeed. And I would do pull throughs, and I'm like, I feel it a lot, but I put it on the whole stack, and I'm like, I need more resistance. So one day I'm watching UFC fights. It's October 10th, 2006. Tito Ortiz is fighting Ken Shamrock, their third fight. I didn't care who win. I just wanted it to be a good fight, and quickly Tito Ortiz mounted him. He's punching him. He's in guard, and I'm like, wishing that Ken Shamrock would do something to try to escape, like buck him off, do something, but he kind of just laid there, and I was a little disappointed. I'm like, I wonder if there'd be an exercise that could strengthen this bridging motion. And that's when the idea was born. I went out to my garage, tried to get my girlfriend at the time to help me, but she was annoyed because she was tired. And I just moved two pieces of equipment, a glute ham raise and a reverse hyper close together. This way I could sink way down. So I put my back on that rounded glute ham developer pad, put my feet on top of the reverse hyper, sunk way down deep, started doing it. I'm like, I like this, but I'm like, I need resistance. I put a dip belt around my hips with 4 45-pound plates, so that's about 180, around the weight of a medium-sized man. And I did 15 reps, and I remember like my left glute felt like it was going to cramp, and I was like, that's what I've been waiting for. Like, that's what I wanted. That set ended when my glutes could no longer. My glutes ended the set. When I did squats, it felt like my quads. I'd feel it in the low back of the quads. When I did deadlifts, I didn't feel like I'd feel like my hamstrings or something, or the limiting factor. I never felt like the set ended when my glutes could not squeeze out another rep. Yeah, squeeze anymore. So it's funny. That was like, I'm gonna write. It's my time. I'm gonna write for T Nation. And my aunt, who I was training, was like, the only problem is I'm going to write about this exercise. No one's going to do it because you have to have a reverse hyper, which is like, with shipping, it's like $2,000 some dollars, and the glute hammers, and it's kind of dangerous. They could split apart, and you'd like fall on your, like break your sacrum or something. So I was like, she's like, sounds to me like you need to invent something. By the way, I never thought of doing it off a bench for a couple of years.
Really?
Yeah, that's when so I did this thing called a scorcher, but this happened right as I was opening up a gym in Scottsdale. So I got the prototype made, and I put it in the corner of my gym, and everyone did it. And everyone who would come to my gym would be like, this is the coolest exercise ever. And I made it to where you could put bands around and you could do it against bands. So we did barbell hip thrust, band hip thrust, and single leg hip thrust. They did them every day. And then we did a lot of other stuff too, but that was kind of the keystone of my program back then. Then the housing market collapse happened. And a lot, like everyone went out of business. My whole plaza went under.
Which year was that?
2008. So my whole plaza went under. So I'm like, now I don't have a gym. What can I do? I think all my clients at that time were like, Bret, you're such a good trainer. You should be more well known. You should be blogging. You should be writing for Men's Health. You should be on TV. And I'm like, how? How do these guys get their foot in the door? I don't know how to do that, and I'm too busy. I'm training people all day. When I get home, I'm exhausted. Now I had some time, so I said, you know what? I'm going to start blogging. I'm going to start social media, and I'm going to start writing for T-Nation. But I want to be able to make money, so I wrote an ebook. And I took like 6 months to write this ebook, and it was like in the corner of my website. I made $8,000 off of it the first month, and then $3,000 for like 8 years.
How much the book? How much you sell that?
$30.
Really?
It was like 600 pages or something, but it was. I look at it now and I laugh at it, how bad it was.
Yeah, but anyways, it came out. It was so well.
It was so creative. The ideas. I mean, I've been in this industry a long time. I've never seen. It sounds really cocky, but I've never seen anyone come up with ideas out of nowhere like that. Like a former math teacher came up with all these glute training concepts and ideas, and so to me, my work kind of did away with glute activation because it's the same movements just with heavy weight. So their idea was kind of like, let's start doing the horizontal and lateral rotary stuff, and then I came along and was like, no, just do those as strengthening exercise. Do your vertical. So I came up with this rule of thirds, a third of your exercise should be vertical hip extension exercise, a third should be horizontal hip extension exercise, your hip thrusts, your back extensions, your kickbacks, and then a third should be lateral rotary stuff like abductions and that category. So that's how I kind of, and so back to T-Nation, I've got I always go off on 8 tangents and I try to close them off at the end. So T-Nation was the best, that was the hub where everyone knew, I could tell you Paul Chek made stability balls popular, Mike Boyle and Ben Bruno made single leg training way more popular than it was, Louis Simmons made box squatting and dynamic effort and reverse hyper popular, I made hip thrusts and glute bridges popular, and we knew who came up with what. We credited those people. Back then, if you wanted to be anyone, you needed to speak at the big conferences where NSCA performed better. You weren't going to get asked to speak at any conferences if you were a weasel and you stole people's ideas. You wouldn't go anywhere. And so we were gentlemen. We credited each other. No one stole each other's ideas. Or you'd always give credit where credit's due. And then now, so then T-Nation, all of us writers, we're all of a sudden, we're getting an article published and they changed the title on us to get more clicks. Wow. That it would make us look bad. Yeah. They'd even change the wording. And we're I remember I wrote an article, why you're stronger round backing in the deadlift. Not that they're better. Why do people round? Well, here's why you round, and my whole point was don't round. Here's why you do it. It's safer to not round, but I'm just explaining why. They changed the title to A Strong Case for Round Back Deadlifts.
Oh my God.
And the strength coaches were, you say that to a bunch of strength coaches, you're public enemy number one. And then I wrote one article saying, heavy kettlebell swings are better than dynamic effort deadlifts. So dynamic effort deadlifts are for powerlifters. You basically take around 50 to 60% of your 1 rep max and you do it really explosively for a set of 3. But the thing is, when you accelerate it real fast, you kind of have to shut the muscle activation off halfway, or else, you don't really get that pop at the end. But with kettlebell swings, heavy swings, you're pushing all the way through. And I didn't realize how good they were until I bought a 203-pound kettlebell. It's like more like a cannonball. And they changed it to just kettlebell swings are better than deadlifts. Oh my God, you say that to, now the powerlifters hate me, the strength coaches hate me.
Yeah.
They're changing my words, they're changing the article, changing the title, and they're telling me, oh, relax, Bret, that got so many views. I'm like, of course it got views at my expense, like, because it's polarizing. I don't like polarizing. I could do polarizing if I wanted to.
Yeah.
I could come up with an Instagram post every day that said that. I don't. I'd rather be liked by 1,000 people than hated by millions but filthy rich. I care about my credibility. So anyway, one by one, I stopped writing for the T Nation, and everyone stopped. And now the site is like, it's not what it was today. So there's no more cataloging of ideas and concepts. No more history. It's like there's no more history of strength and conditioning because this is a new fad. Who came up with it? Nobody knows. And so now I get accused of fabricating. The people are like, you didn't invent the hip thrust. It's been around forever. And it's so annoying because I'll be like, show me a picture of it or a video clip of it being done before 2006. I'd love to credit the rightful inventor. I'm still going to get all the credit for popularizing it. It would be hilarious for me to see someone somewhere else doing it with heavy weight. I'd be like, what? They thought of it before me? No way. I know I came up with it on my own. I did my research in 2006. I spent a week on Google searching every possible combination. But now it's so weird that people will try to say, you didn't know. We were doing that in the 90s. And I'll say, oh, do you have any pictures? No one had camera phones back then. I'll go, that's the lamest. So we have black and white pictures of every lift from the 50s. Like black and white pictures of squats, deadlifts, dips, chin-ups, bent rows, bench press, lunges, curls, you name it. But hip thrusts were being done, but no one ever took a picture of it. Never.
It's so
really?
Weird.
So anyway, that was a long-winded answer, but it's
an interesting story. I love that. So you came up with the idea, and then do you need to kind of sign something to make sure that's your idea and no one is going to steal it, or how would that work?
Well, interestingly, I think it was like a month or two ago, I had to there was a guy coming out saying I stole his ideas.
Oh, wow.
And so, I don't know why this guy wanted to mess with me, so I'm like...
He wants money, I guess.
Well, okay, so that's the thing. All the people around me are like, don't give him any attention. Because you have, I think I have 1.15 million or something right now. So you think I post about him, you think, oh, your 1.15 million followers, you're going to at least give him 10,000 followers. It doesn't work that way. I wasn't painting him in a positive light. I think he gained 50 followers who probably just wanted to keep up on the saga. And so, because I really made a fool out of him, but the guy's got psychological issues. He doesn't, it's weird. He's like I explained that not only did what you accused me of, you weren't the first to come up with it. I was basically 15 years before you did, or whatever, 11 years before you did. But then there's been 4 people along the way. Here's evidence of that. Here's someone, and you came up with it in 2017. Here's someone from 2013. Here's someone from 2014. And I had a folder with all the history of it. And I got that folder out, and then he and I have a patent that I applied for in 2006. And you can see I came up with this, so that's what you apply for a patent. But, I had a sketchbook that I got notarized. And I never thought one day that would come in handy, but it did. So I put this video out on Instagram, and it was funny because everyone was just like, wow, what's this guy thinking, going against the Glute Guy? But it's so weird. It didn't faze him. 2 days later, he comes up with a post sticking to his story that now I didn't just steal one of his ideas, I stole multiple ideas, and I'm not creative, and he's the only one who's creative. I'm like, okay, this guy's But that's social media these days, you know?
Yeah, that's right. For one like, you're gonna have 20 haters. That's always like that.
One other thing, now the hip thrust, it's fascinating. There's researchers fabricating studies.
Yes.
You probably saw it going around, this squats are better than hip thrusts. That study never took place.
Really?
Those fabricated, yeah, these statisticians, to a lot of my friends in the field, they're the top stats guys, they come out with saying, based on statistics, and I knew, because I read the study, and I'm like, yeah, okay, picture you, Avrora, when you started squatting, the first 6 months you started squatting, your squat might have went from 65 pounds to 155 pounds or something. You might have gained 90 pounds on your squat in 6 months.
No.
But not even?
No.
Not even?
Not even.
Okay. See, I was being generous.
I don't even squat, honestly.
Well, but your hip thrust.
Yes, almost every day.
If you start hip thrusting, you would have started out at, say, 95, and after 6 months, you'd be using, 185 or 225 or something. You go up way faster. So this study didn't fool me, because I trained thousands of people. But I knew it was fabricated. They proved statistically that there's no way, like one in like a trillion chance that it could happen. So people fabricated studies, and then another thing is this picture started going around, and it was like proof that the hip thrust was around long before Bret Contreras, and it was.
Really? What was the picture?
It was the guy. I wish I could. I want to know how this came about. It looks like this Arthur Saxon, this old-time strongman, but it's not him. It's like a jacked dude with a mustache. He looks like he's an old-time strongman, but then you look closely, and I'm like, because I saw him, I was like, what is this? There's no way they were doing hip thrust back in that day and age. We would have known about it.
Yeah.
So first I was thinking, like, what book is this from? I just automatically think this is fabricated. But anyway, I look carefully, I'm like, wait, that's a hammer strength bench. Those are pen light plates. These are all modern. So
I think it's a body shop or something.
It is one, but the guy's real, like, so someone saw this guy and was like, you look like an old-time strongman. You do a hip thrust, and I'm going to put a black and white, like a sepia, they put the sepia filter on it.
Yeah.
And, like, it's crazy. I never, when I got up the hip thrust, I'm like, I was so naive. I'm like, I'm just going to present it to the world. They'll feel it working so good, and it'll get so popular. Everyone's going to love it. And then I even learned how to use EMG before my PhD, and I measured the EMG activity of all the muscles, and I'm like, they're gonna really appreciate the extra mile I went into conducting all these scientific experiments, and they're gonna see the data, and it's gonna get huge. It's gonna blow up. Well, it did blow up thanks to my persistence. But when it got popular, all the guys that I was admired in the field started bashing it. And I mean, I could go and take any guy off the street and go, I'm going to give you hip thrusts, okay? Keep going, keep going, keep going. Say I did especially if I did like a triple drop set with them, took weight off, keep going, they would be like, oh my God, my glutes, like the biggest burn. You felt it, like the biggest burn. And then no one in the streets would be like, yeah, that doesn't do anything. But you get these exercises, it's so bizarre, like hip thrusts don't do anything. And I'm like, you get these people saying hip thrusts don't do anything, they don't grow your glutes at all. And it's like, would you do that with a curl? Would you go like, curls don't do anything. You can, they don't even work your biceps, but it's just, they're just jealous.
Yeah.
And I never knew that like a big, significant portion of my life would be dealing with jealousy. It's kind of sad. You have to deal with all these haters and.
Yeah, it was actually one of my questions. So that's a lot of pressure from social media, I'm sure along your career, from maybe your family and friends. So how do you actually deal with that? You don't have any serious relationship, as I know, right?
Right.
You don't have kids, right? So how do you deal with all this pressure?
Well,
You don't actually.
having a wife or kids would probably make it worse.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, but I was
There's
just
no way I can handle what
double
I do with a bunch of screaming kids running around.
Yeah.
In fact, God, I have so much respect for like mothers who have jobs and raise kids. I feel like what I do, I have a lot of weight on my shoulders. I juggle multiple successful businesses, and I have my glute squad that I train, And by the way, the Glute Squad is the strongest, we're the strongest female gym in the world.
I know.
Yeah, I have this, and I never talk about that. I have the strongest female gym in the world. Natural lifters.
Yeah,
You know, none
amazing.
of them take stuff.
It's amazing.
And so I'm FaceTime every day with my San Diego squad. I'm texting them, I'm telling them what to do. And so I do juggle a lot. I feel like what I do is hard, but you know, my twin brother, I have a twin, he has a kid, and I babysat for one day for like 2 hours. It was the longest 2 hours of my life. And this is so much harder than work. Raising a kid is way harder than work. Work is fun. I mean, some women think raising kids is fun, but anyway, I always thought I'd have kids. I'm still on the fence, but I'm like 45. What am I going to do? Have a kid now? So I'm not married. I'm single. It makes it very easy to be productive because at nighttime I will read studies and stuff. So it's like I like staying current on the research. It's very important to me, and I want to stay the glute guy for as long as I can. You know, I know it's going to be hard when I'm 60, like a 60-year-old glute guy. That's why I started my PC strength equipment, because I'm like, who's going to want a 60-year-old glute guy? Maybe if I stay fit and attractive, I don't know.
Yeah.
It gets harder as I age.
But you open at something new, which is I'm excited about to talk, is your competitions,
Yeah.
right? That's something maybe not everyone out here is know. So can you tell us about your new competitions?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked about this. So I always loved powerlifting. And I've competed a few times, and it's just so cool to focus on performance.
Yeah.
And I wish I started working with so many bikini competitors, and I kind of started drifting away from it, because when you work with a lot of bikini competitors, there's a party that's like, am I even doing a good thing?
Yeah.
Because so many of them, the world can swallow people up and spit them out. It's like if I were to say, oh, Avrora, check this out. You're going to start doing bikini, and in 2 years, you're going to look like this. You'd go, oh my God, I'm going to look like that. And you'd be like, I'm going to be so happy. The problem is you get there and you're not happy.
Yeah.
Some girls are never been so miserable. And because it's
exhausting.
It's not only the mental toll that prep has on you, and it's draining. It turns some people just crazy, men and women. I think more women than men, though, because they have menstrual, I don't know. I tried to study, even with just the menstrual cycle, the ebb and flow of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And it's like during ovulation, testosterone is at its peak, and estrogen is really high, but progesterone is really low. And then before the period, everything's down really low. And so you start looking at that and you're like, how the hell could you as a guy I've dated lots of girls, you tend to get annoyed, she's PMSing and she makes my life a living hell this month. It's not her fault.
Yeah.
It's her hormones. It's not her fault. And then during prep, I've seen so many, Bret, my husband's telling me he's going to leave me. I don't freaking care if he leaves me. He can go ahead and leave me. He's not being supportive. I'm like, whoa. He is supportive, though. I know your husband. What are you doing? You're talking crazy right now. You love your husband. He's not.
You're a psychologist now, right?
I know. Which I'm not but I'll be like, no. This competition, I think you should consider, take a step back. Let's you don't want to ruin your marriage. You don't want to jeopardize this stuff, but they get so tunnel vision. And what I wish more people in the bodybuilding world knew was you're annoying when you compete. You're annoying.
Yeah.
You're not your poor partner now. Hey, let's go to Mexican food. No, I can't. Or you're not going to eat any chips and salsa. You're not going to eat popcorn when you go to the movie. You're not going to eat a hot dog and drink a beer when you go to the game. You're deep down not going to want to go anywhere. When you get social anxiety, even the thought of going to a dinner.
Plus the sexual thing has come down.
Sex drive issues, everything. You get cranky, you get irritable, you get hangry. And so if you have a supportive spouse, you need to thank your lucky stars, because hell, I wouldn't want to date a competitor. Seeing what I deal with, I'd be like, I also want to date someone who loves lifting but doesn't have to diet down all the time and everything, because it's tough. But anyway, I started recommending, and I think I got this from Lane and Paul, when they started telling their girls, hey, you just competed 3 times in a year, you're beat down a little bit, why don't you do some powerlifting for a while? And I thought that was a great idea. The only problem is if women just do the big 3, they do squats, bench, and deadlifts. It's good, but I don't think that alone can really maximize your physique. And of course you can do more exercises, but when you do a lift competitively, you get good at it.
Yeah.
So I've always liked the big 6, what I call it. Squats, bench, deadlifts, which are the 3 power lifts, but also hip thrusts, chin-ups, and military press.
Yeah.
So, yeah, one day I'm sitting there and I'm like, why don't I start that? So I called it strong lifting, and I've had my girls do it. And the first competition, and I invented this strength sport, invented, I formulated, it's not like you invent, but anyway, I formulated it right during COVID. Our first meet was in October of last year. And so we couldn't have competition because, COVID's going on. So we got 3 competitions, and what I've realized is my girls have gotten so freakishly strong.
Did you do that in San Diego, the first one?
The first one was in Miami,
Miami.
at Katie Sonier's gym.
Uh-huh.
The second one was in Tulum, and that was our Tulum Cancun trip. And then the third one was at San Diego. And we're planning a 4th one for LA.
And 5th one in Hawaii.
Hawaii, yeah.
Please.
But, here's what I will tell you. Like, Ashley Hodge, I was just with her on the beach.
She's
I'm like,
so strong!
Ashley, your physique. She's leaning out. She's 131 pounds. She was always 135. She's now 131. She's shredded. I knew her before all this. She's not dieted per se. She eats really well, but she never is on a strict diet. It's just she's always training hard, and she's recomped like crazy. So, her lifts have all gone up 50 to 100 pounds. She's now, squats like 225, deadlifts 405, hip thrust 600, benches 185, does a weighted chin-up with 75 pounds.
Wow.
She can do 5 reps with a 45-pound plate.
Wow.
And then military press is like 100 pounds. So it's like, when you start focusing on lift, you start getting really good at it, and your muscles develop. So her and my squad, they've recomped, and so now they're starting to do bikini, and it's crazy. Like Brianna, for example, I've got 2 Briannas, but like Booty Brie, I started training her right when I started training Masa, so she's been with me for like almost 5 years now, and she's just out of control. She's ripped at like 148 now. Her competition weight was like, I think, 132. She's 16 pounds up, and she's getting ripped already, and we're like, great, what? But it's getting hard to diet for them because they're getting so lean, but they look really good.
Wow.
My squad looks so good, and they train for performance.
Yes.
And they get leaner. Like Jade, she looks like she could step on stage in a few weeks if she wanted, and she's only been training for strong lifting. And so I want to eradicate this notion that it's like people think, oh, well, it's so weird because it's always conflicting too. Because sometimes it'll be like, oh, you want to put on mass, you should power lift. But then, oh, you want to bodybuild, you want to start focusing on her hypertrophy, you need to bodybuild. Well, what is mass and what is hypertrophy? They're the same thing. So which one is it? It's like, you should always be training hard. You should always be going for PRs, for personal records. You should always be getting stronger at all the big lifts, or variations of the big lifts, in all the different rep ranges,
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm hoping to come across, that strength training is fat loss training. It just depends on how you eat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your training never needs to change much.
So your next competition is going to be in LA. You already have a date?
Well, I think August 28th, yeah.
28th. Awesome.
Yeah.
Is anyone could sign up, or how does that
We
work?
could figure that out, because we gotta limit it to say whatever the gym can hold, maybe 80 people, but I'll probably bring 30, so maybe 50 extra competitors. I don't know how to narrow that down now.
Okay, but
I'd
if
like to
anyone-
have people from around the world, but
Yeah, but if anyone interested in how they can find this information in the future.
yeah, I'll announce it
Okay.
soon. Yeah, but in fact, by the time this podcast comes out, I might post about it tomorrow. The next
Yeah,
day. So,
maybe, yes, it's gonna be
You
in the
can find my
news, so.
Instagram post about it, but
Yeah. Because
I'm
I'm
glad-
sure a lot of girls want it. I want it, and a lot of girls with my friends and friends
Yeah.
ask me about this because it's something really cool we
I
can
feel
do
like it's
all the
like-
season. You know?
it's good. Yeah, do it off season, and it just helps your bikini training,
Yeah.
and it's something fun to do, and it's so cool seeing what you can put up. And I think it's more fun than powerlifting. It's
Yes, absolutely.
6 lifts. Training for 3 lifts is hard. Training for 6 lifts, it's tough.
Yeah.
And now we've done like 4, this will be the 4th meet we do. I've learned a lot along the way. I've created a whole system. It's a lot of like what I learned from Louis Simmons, who I mentioned earlier with Westside, but there was some, I don't want to say there's something missing when he's probably the most successful powerlifting coach of all time. He's a legend. He's an absolute legend in our field, but my point is, he trains with geared powerlifting. They wear equipment, you know, and bench shirts and stuff. When you train raw, to me, that I took bits from his system and mixed them with, you know, my system, and so we start doing a lot of. You see people using bands and chains and stuff, not bands like glute loops or mini bands around the knees. I'm talking about like you do hip thrusts with bands around the bar and the hip thruster, for example, or you might have seen people squatting with a bar and then bands or chains. We've been doing a lot of that. It's so cool, like seeing these bikini competitors who've changed their mindset, and they're like doing chain squats, and you know, they never used to be. Now the average hip thrust in my gym is probably, it was 550, it's probably like 570 now.
Wow.
The average. I've got Carly hip thrusting 800 pounds now, Dom 700. I've got 3 girls who can pretty much deadlift 405.
Wow.
You know, and they're doing chin-ups with, now it's no big deal to do a chin-up with 45 pounds.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy, right?
crazy, right?
Not
But-
every guy can do it.
I know, but what's cool is like this, like if you train at my gym, just seeing the stuff.
Yes, it's gonna
like
inspire you.
It's inspiring. You're no longer impressed with,
Yeah.
like you see someone in the gym hip thrusting 315, you're like, whoa, that's just warm-up weight at my gym. You won't be impressed by my gym, it's like, really, 315, that's it? Like,
Yeah, that's what I like about your competition. You make this community-wise,
Yeah.
and even if I go there, I just want to have this experience and meet with the girls, you know, support each other and have fun. So it's almost like a bikini competition, but much more and healthy weight, which is I love, you know.
what we realized was there was so much camaraderie. We had to tone that down. I used to post videos and people go, oh my God, I'd kill to have that. But it got too, imagine you're about to like do a lift
Yeah.
and you've got 15 girls, come on, scream, you got that. Like, and your favorite song is boom, boom, boom. And then you get it and then you're like, you use so much psychological energy, you're fried for like, then these girls start going, Bret, I realize every time I do that, then the whole rest of the week I'm shot.
Yeah.
So now we don't psych each other up, we save that for the competitions now. We try, in fact, Carly's last prep, she trained in the mornings with no music and no psych ups, alone, like no music and alone, so she wouldn't get so psyched up. So then, because she's the type that turns it on at the meets, like she'll hit a huge PR at the meets, you know?
No, that's awesome. Okay, we almost finished. I just have to ask you the last questions, but I always ask everyone, and this is maybe the hardest one, but what you gonna do if that's gonna be the last day of your life on this planet?
Whoa. So, I think most people would say, like, spend time with your family, right? I would go get a will done, like, and divvy out my stuff to my family. But I would also record, you know, I want to have this documentary made, because like I said, I would like to document everything.
Yeah,
And
if you could, that's going to be a great
I think it would be
documentary,
cool.
how you invent this exercise and how you actually ended up.
But it's not just the exercise, it's the whole glute training movement.
Yeah.
And it was ushered in by like the Kardashians and, you know, Shakira and J-Lo
Yeah,
and, you know, they had a huge part in it, but it was like people start Googling how to get a big butt.
Yeah.
Everyone wants a big butt because of these celebrities. Well, now they get to my blog. How do you get a big butt? They still might know. Here's some new methods. Oh, I'm going to try it. More people start trying it. Instagram comes out. Now the men aren't the only experts. It used to be men were the authorities. Now you get these women who, I first joined Instagram, I'm like, cool, I got 5,000 followers. These girls have 13 million. Like, you know what I mean? Like Jen Selter, like she would have like 9 million back then. And I'm like, just for having a nice butt. And they all are like, you know, hip thrusts are my favorite. They're like, most of these girls are like, I love hip thrusts.
Yeah.
So a guy would come in trying to bully, some bully powerlifter strength coach would come and be like, hip thrusts suck. And they would go, no they don't, they're actually my favorite exercise, you suck. And then that would get all these likes, and then the guy would shut up. Tell guys, shut up, quit trying to bully, quit trying to, you know, these girls are smart enough to know what works best. That's kind of when hip thrusts exploded, but it wasn't just the hip thrust, it was all the band work,
Yes, for sure.
the machines, kickbacks are okay to do. Don't listen, like, do your squats, you know, do deadlifts, do.
So if it's going to be the last thing, or is she going to do
I would film a video.
Oh, you
No.
would?
Yeah, I was going off on a tangent. Like,
Yeah.
but I want to showcase how the glute training has changed a lot. And you go and look. Actually, Paul gave me this idea. Go and look at 2006, or I think the first bikini competition was 2009. Maybe it was 2011, but
I'm not sure.
When the first woman to win bikini, I forgot her name. Paul knows it.
Yeah.
And then 2012, 13, 40. You look at the last decade. Go look at male bodybuilders. They haven't changed that much. You know, the last 10, 15 years. Like, Ronnie Coleman looks jacked, and, you know, like you see the guys now. Yes, this males always evolve, but you don't see one body part that's markedly different on them.
Yeah.
Pecs are, you know, and then the training isn't different. How did Arnold train his pecs? How do the guys now train their pecs? It's very similar. Across the board with every muscle group. The only muscle that's undergone a huge, significant, you know, revolution is glute training. It's nowhere, like 20 years ago, glute training was nothing how it is now. So it's this whole movement. That's why I had the idea for the documentary, the man behind the movement, and it's kind of the movement is the hip thrust, but also this big glute movement, you know.
Yeah, I love
But
that.
that's what I would do. I would just like film and
I love
get the
that.
footage out, and then hopefully have someone like edit it, because that would be like, oh, my legacy. I need it to be documented. But that's what I would do if I had one day left. I know, pretty lame. And I'd also give directions on researchers. Here's what we still need to figure out. Here's 10 studies that need to be carried out. I would leave some of my money to fund that research, because I'm like, great, it'll be like 100 years from now, no one will have figured this stuff out. This stuff needs to be determined. So.
I love it. Yeah, you're so passionate about what you do. That's why you answer exactly like that. And then it's a vegan booty talk. So I have to ask, do you believe in vegan bodybuilding? And what do you think about that?
I mean, to me, you can't not believe in it. You see these people who are successful, and you know, they're crushing it. I think the challenge for a lot of vegans is that a lot of like normal vegans who don't lift, you know, they don't maybe they don't get enough protein in. But I think if you don't lift, to be healthy, you don't really need as much protein as we get.
Yeah.
But for optimal body composition, you need to get the right, adequate amounts of protein, which is argued about, but the upper end being like a gram per pound of body weight per day, it makes it harder, but it's doable. And you see these guys who are, you can't say, no, you can't get big and strong that way. There are people doing it. Is it optimal? The way you can do it, I think it's just challenging. But yeah, people say, people are very harsh, but you can do it, yeah. And I'm personally not vegan, but I have nothing against it, and I think that there are ways to get protein powders, and you gotta eat a lot of, because people go like, oh, there's lots of protein in like beans. No, there's not.
No, there's not. And then you're gonna, smell that all the time. So it's not a good idea. But
don't get all your protein from beans.
Don't do it. But I love this answer. Thank you so much. And then before I let you go, I have a small game. It's kind of like yes or no, but you just have to choose one.
Let's do it.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Purple or black?
Black.
Gym or outdoor workouts?
Gym.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Juice or smoothie?
Smoothie.
Wine or water?
Water.
Chocolate or sweet cream?
Chocolate.
Kiss or hug?
What'd you say?
Kiss or hug?
Hug.
Love or sex?
Oh. The younger Bret would say sex, but I'm older now. I'd say love.
Love it. Thank you so much for your confession. Love it. Okay, before I let you go, what do you want to say to our listeners, followers? Anything you want to say and share before?
I just want to say thank you. That was a good podcast. I've done so many of these. I wish I knew how many podcasts I've done, but
I could count. I'll email you.
This was a good one, and I like when people ask, out of the box questions, and you try to get to know the person a little bit. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much for you sharing all this incredible information, and it was really informative. And plus, I have more questions, so I'm maybe gonna even do it one more time with you.
Let's do it.
Because people have to know where it came from. I think it's so important, and I really appreciate you as a trainer and as a researcher. You know what I mean? Because you have so much knowledge, and always when I open your YouTube or your Instagram, it's not like I'm looking on just do this. No, I'm looking on research, and I'm looking on why we should do that. So
you always have to do a part 2 with me because I don't shut up. I just ramble. One question, 20 minutes later. So next time I'm in Hawaii, or if you're in Vegas,
I hope I'm going to come to visit you. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
We'll do part 2.
Thank you so much again
You're
for
very
finding
welcome.
time.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.